I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Blankenship. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight to look at the rezoning for Oakland Middle School and Buchanan Middle School. This time, I guess Mr. Odom's got, him and Mr. Morgan got some proposals, I guess, to present to us. So, Mr. Odom, if you want to go forth.
There's a couple of things I'll mention before we start this. It's in your packet. One is the job description for the position in the food service we talked about last night. You asked some questions, so you get a chance before you vote tomorrow night. You might want to take a look at that again. And the other is the letter that's going out to employees that did not have the blood test associated with the insurance. But that's the one they actually received. So those two are there for your look this evening. You have in your packet tonight, you have two maps. One map, the first one, which does not have the table on it, it's the plain one, that's the one that he has up there, is the current status that we have. Basically, you asked us one time to look at, most of your out of zone typically tend to be employees' children, basically. That's somewhat difficult to translate into another year because if they happen to be an 8th grader or something, they'll be gone. I mean, they don't. So it's a little bit difficult when you look at that, but that's your number. Our problem occurs up here, of course, with Oakland Middle School. This is why we started this whole thing. At 1,097, and Ms. Edwards is here. I'm not sure. Are you still at 1,097? Those numbers came back. What are you?
Tuesday, we were 11.
Okay. So, our goal was to try to get her numbers down somewhere. If we could get under 1,000 to maybe give you a couple of years growth in there, that's our issue. But anyway, that's what spurred this whole thing, to try to have space to do that. So what we've done, Shane, if you will kind of pop up the other one that I'm taking a look at, and what we have done by looking at some areas, if we were to do this proposal as it is, Oakland, we think will be around 954, Whitworth Buchanan at 933, and Christiana Middle at 938. Basically what we're talking about, if everybody happens to go there and it's closed. Ms. Blankenship asked that we do a breakdown and label the areas. So you have a table on each of your maps that shows your breakdown by grade, and then you got a letter designation that lets you look at, like this is area A, B, kind of lets you be in C, D, kind of lets you look at that. The first meeting we had, one of your considerations was that you'd like to back away from Oakland a little bit, Oakland Middle, to try to not go up in zones so close to it if we could. Ms. Blankenship talked with some of her constituents around basically this area right here, Halls Hill Pike. And they do go to school at Kittrell, a lot of them together. And so they said that they would prefer, rather than maybe being split between Oakland Middle and Whitworth Buchanan, that they would probably welcome the fact of being able just to go to Whitworth Buchanan to do that. That accounts for around 63 students. So this is the area. The area north of Halls Hill Pike basically are simply roads or a house or something that the exit is on Halls Hill Pike. In other words, a bus, anything there will come right back to Halls Hill Pike. That's involved in that. Another area that we looked at some, which is a holdover from what you had before, a number of these people in this particular area in here, which we kind of call in, what is that one, Shane? G, part of this. Anyway, this area right here between I-24 over, that originally, if you looked at, did go to Christiana some, but one of their issues was they actually attended elementary school, some of them up as far as Barfield, others were actually going to Buchanan. They even asked us last time we rezoned to consider putting them back at the Whitworth Buchanan area. So if we choose to do that, if you want to do that, that certainly gives us an option to straighten that line out some. This particular area up here, you had lots of people at the last zoning meeting that we had, basically, that, and if you look at the existing map with the blue lines that we have here is your existing lines, kind of let you see now. These were several people that came to see us and said, we'd much rather prefer just to go right straight out to Whitworth Buchanan than to go over through town, then come down and go down to Christiana Middle. So if you choose this option, this brings some of that back in line. But again, we're open to any of those areas that we're talking about if you'd like to, from the A through I there, with some numbers and some counts that you could look at for your numbers. Another thing that I might say, he has pulled out central magnets, people. So hopefully none of the central magnets that's existing now are included in this. So that tends to muddy us numbers a little bit sometimes, so we shouldn't have that particular issue. So again, those numbers I think you can kind of ignore. But Shane, it may just be that you may want to go through now and walk through the changes that we made, and let's talk about those and why we selected. Now here's another issue, and I'll kind of tell you going in, Mr. Snell and I talked this afternoon. Because of all this area up here that around Halls Hill Pike, we had been running the buses in there, and they picked up middle and high school together and delivered them to Oakland High or Oakland Middle. Since some of these will be going by to Whitworth Buchanan, this is going to cost us another bus, basically is what it's going to do. Because some of them are going to be going back here, and some of them at high school are going to be going up to Oakland High School. I mean, that's the situation that you have. So we think that's fairly sure. Potentially another issue down in here too, right, Mr. Snell? Yes. With some of that. Again, that's not uncommon that you run into with the bus situation. Do you kind of get your numbers and see for sure? But that's not uncommon either. Mr. Morgan, why don't you kind of start out and kind of take an area at a time and let's look at it and see if we can get some of our numbers to.
So the first thing, I'm just going to do it by the area that we've chosen and give you a little description of the area and how many students are coming out of it. If you have a question along the way, I'll be more than happy to answer it. The area A that we spoke about is basically south of Halls Hill Pike and east of Twin Oaks Drive. That accounts for 63 of what we're looking at. One of the problems that we had trying to come up with this fix or the reduction of the numbers in Oakland Middle School was that we had to get, farther north. There just literally is no other place to take it from. So beyond that, again, as Mr. Odom said, we were looking at that road, Halls Hill Pike, and how far it stretches. And we've had conversations with the transportation department before about buses crossing, passing each other on a road. And because it is rural, and we still needed a few more to make the grade, so to speak, we went ahead and pulled the other side. And as Mr. Odom said, we tried to look at only those properties that fronted Halls Hill Pike, so that we didn't have a bus going off on a tangent. Now, that doesn't mean that there won't be one or two there, but as you can see, there are only 8 on that side of the road. So it's an easy fix as we go through here to maybe take an area out or add an area if we find it. That accounts again for 8. We look at C, that is west of Twin Oaks Drive, east of North Rutherford, and south of Halls Hill. That accounts for 11 more.
And that was originally in Oakland. See if you see follow your line.
Section D, when we were looking at the big picture, I literally had roads fronted there. There is one little section where all these streets are that basically there are 35 children just in that area. Before, we only had like 4. And we wanted to pick up another big group to go that were all centrally located. And as you can see, it's got a good, this road comes down here, so it's a good in and out to either Rutherford Boulevard or Halls Hill Pike. So it was.
Part of that apartment, your multifamily dwelling. is what you
It's a
got.
multifamily dwelling. I don't think it's apartments. I think they're condominiums or duplexes, if I remember correctly. Were you going to say something, Mr. Knepper? Okay, I didn't want to interrupt you. So we'll move over a little bit more, and before the last time I visited with you, oops, I'm sorry. We had gone almost all the way up in all 3 plans that we had given you to East Northfield Boulevard. And we were told that was somewhat unacceptable. You didn't want to move that far north and be that close to Oakland Middle School. So we tried again to just tame it down, get some numbers out of there, and be as close to road frontage as we could possibly be to Greenland. Yes, sir.
Go back to that previous where you had it there, the big street. What about that street right above the D? How many children would come out of that?
Right in there.
That gray one, right on
Sure.
that.
That whole thing right there is part of one whole section.
No, I'm talking about that dead end street that you
Right
didn't
there.
capture on D.
Right there.
Right there.
Oh,
I mean, is that because it's apartments or what is that right there?
I don't know, I'll tell you. We're talking about that one right there.
That little dead end street right.
That Gold Valley.
30, I'm sorry,
I think that's
sorry. 30, there's 30 more in there.
30 more.
Gold Valley, actually, I remember now, Gold Valley is actually this road right here.
right.
Well, that area you're talking about is probably apartment.
I think the one highlighted right now is actually apartments.
Apartments, so we didn't capture it because of apartments? or-
Well, we just, it's we're continuing to go north, and we
Right.
wanted to stop at some point. And, again, it's that particular complex that feeds Gold Valley actually has an outlet to Halls Hill Pike.
Okay.
Anything else before I move on? All right. Then, the biggest section of this whole thing is the area south of East Main, and it kind of fits in that little crook of the downtown over by Kensington, or just north of, it includes Kensington and north of Kensington, along Rutherford Boulevard. As Mr. Odom said, it was an area that we had different goals when we met for zoning for the original setup for those middle schools. And now we have a new goal, and because we have a new goal, we're trying to balance the attendance numbers, and it actually is much easier, or I would assume it would be much easier from the comments we've gotten in the past, for those families to have the shorter trip to Whitworth Buchanan than coming all the way through town and down Church Street to go out to Christiana.
Zoom out and let them see that council a
Absolutely.
little bit.
So this is that section.
There's Whitworth.
I'll let you.
And here's Christiana, and there's Whitworth. You're in this section. Here's Whitworth Buchanan. Again, Christiana Middle.
Right. I mean, as the drive goes, it's relatively the same distance. We're talking about a half to 3/4 of a mile distance. But the traffic during those times of day don't make up for it.
You have to go here and out, down 231.
Right. And either way, unless you take back roads down to Whitworth Buchanan, either school you go to, you're gonna have to go through at least one school zone, and that would be the city's Black Fox. And it gets a little hairy in that area anyway, but those folks are already doing that drive. So we're actually giving them an alternate route by going down Manchester Highway. And that is the largest number that we have to change in this whole scenario. It's 187 that live right there.
You know, one of the things that stands out with me is that we're not far from having to do something for more capacity when you look at all three schools. I mean, you're approaching 1,000 on all three schools.
Yeah, at our
We may
mere
hit it.
3% growth, we're 3 years away.
We're not, I mean, it's just really, I don't know that we're gonna be three.
Right.
I mean, in all honesty, we're adding on to Blackman Middle now. I mean, we do own additional property at Whitworth Buchanan, which, and you saw over the Christmas holidays, we talked about that some, how many much more had been annexed, approved to develop, and if you've been out that way, you know kind of what we're talking about. But, I mean, if we added on to Whitworth Buchanan like you're doing at Blackman, that's a potential, but the other possibility is, as I talked to Gary Clardy about it, then we purchase enough there to do the high school plus the middle school. So we got the middle school. You get into that too much and expanding, you'll find yourself short on the high school unless you want to change your high school concept from the 2,000 capacity high school down to 1,500 or something like that. Then you can begin to do that. But it's, you know, in all probability, there's going to be another school that we're going to have to consider, not the city, but us, simply to handle middle or high school in this area. I mean, it's already beginning to show.
The next two areas I'm going to kind of talk about together. This is a little bit of cleanup that we're doing based on the plans that we gave you before to look up. And also, this is leftover from our middle school zoning that we did for Oakland and Whitworth Buchanan. Basically, we would like to take the area just under McFadden that borders Bridge Avenue. There's only one child that currently resides in that area. And we'd like to pull that into the Whitworth Buchanan zone. Again, it's one half dozen the other. They're going to have to go either direction. It's about the same distance. And if I was making that drive every morning and every afternoon, I would choose the Manchester route before I would choose to go down Church Street. The other section is Warrior Drive, basically what we have around us. There are 68 children that live in there, and it evens up that line going up to the highway. I was speaking to Mr. Horn, thank you, right before the meeting, and he said in reference to this particular area and the next one that I'm going to show you, this is how the zone actually did look some time ago. And for, I guess, whatever reasons that came before me, it got changed out. So there are some people that may actually be familiar with this if we were to go back.
We made a change around the Barfield, the old Barfield area, if you remember last time when we kind of got into it, and that had to balance out some numbers, had to go up and pick up some of that at Warrior Drive before.
Section I is the last piece of this whole thing, and it is basically all of the west side of Interstate 24. It's about 167. And again, it allows us to kind of balance those numbers from north to south through those four zones. And it also, you know, it's a logistic thing too. I-24 is a nice clean line for us to border. Again, this is an area where another school zone is directly affected. That's Buchanan Elementary School. It basically is going to split it in half. And I was reminded again by Mr. Horn that that's the way it used to be. So we're kind of going back some, but before it was one side of the interstate went to one school, and one side of the interstate went to the other school.
I don't think this map shows that new extension of Joe B. Jackson up there and all going, it's coming back out on 231 either.
Yeah, that should be done within a few months.
But I don't think we've got it necessarily here. That area is very likely to develop there too. Ms. Blankenship's got a smile. She's got something that.
Well, I know Mr. Miller worked on this really hard, so, it just, to me, it's cleaning up what should have probably been done the first time around. And left it to following a lot more of the county lines that they were, that everybody has the specific boundaries, so. I like it. Like it better than what I've seen.
Good.
One of the issues that bothers me is it certainly does change their free reduced numbers, but it's because of the areas that you're pulling in. If you're gonna go proximity neighborhood or try to bring them closer to the schools, simply because the area that we're looking at, it does change those numbers for us.
And Mr. Odom, could we put in more services at Whitworth Buchanan to help out some of the,
That's what we've done at Laverne in some areas where we had that. When we had the high school change at Laverne High School and all, we've actually put in several, staffed them differently and that sort of thing, tried to accommodate that. And again, you can go in and kind of do some spot zoning, bring out some things, but then your transportation cost and all too, when you start winding around doing it, you got kids not going to school as close to them, plus you increase your transportation costs, trying to go in and transport kids further in order to come back and pick that up. But it's, we can only respond to where the buildings are. And,
Mr. Holliday?
We're looking at February 11th for a public hearing, and it's been the method of our board to bring one proposal to a public hearing, albeit open to the discussion that the general public may bring and the additional input that they have. Again, I'll reiterate what's been said before. The unique circumstances of neighborhoods and traffic flow may be something that we have overlooked, and that's why the public hearing is so important. But if it would please the chairman, I'd like to propose that we kind of zero in on this plan that's been presented tonight and take that to that public hearing.
do you want to wait till tomorrow night? You mentioned that. It's up to you. Let them look at it some more or not?
Yeah, what I mentioned, Mr. Odom, earlier, and I'm open either way. I've got, like I said, whatever we take to public hearing is not set in stone, so we have to adjust it further. My preference would be, as I mentioned, Mr. Odom, since Mr. Blair's not here tonight, possibly bring this back tomorrow evening. Everybody look at it a little bit closer. Like I said, I was set to try to get something done this evening, but I wasn't aware Mr. Blair was going to be absent, so I just think it's only fair to give us another additional night to look at these figures, because I've got several questions that I'll have to have Mr. Morgan do some figuring on for numbers. So that would be my preference, but I'm open to whatever the board wants to do.
I agree, we just wait till tomorrow, give everybody a chance to smoke it over here.
It's good.
Are you good with that, Mr. Eads?
We can add that to agenda for tomorrow night, I think, post it.
Okay. Mr. Holliday, you're good?
Yes,
with
sir.
that? Ms. Blankenship?
I'm fine with it. I'd like to add, in addition to Mr. Holliday's motion, because it's still on the floor, is that we definitely, the rising 7th and 8th graders, that they be included into this motion, that they stay there for grandfathering them in.
Yeah, I think that's probably something that we will, following the public hearing, when we do put in place a motion of adopting this. My intent really is just that the board is of one mind to present, we make big charts, we go to that public hearing, with one proposal for the public to look at and digest.
So, anything you want to add, Ms. Blankenship? We'll put it in form, we're basically just going to delay it till tomorrow evening. Okay. And then hopefully tomorrow evening, somebody will make a motion one way or another, and we can all agree to what we're going to take forth. We definitely need to have to try to come out tomorrow evening with some plan, and because we've got the date set, February 11th, 6:30 at Whitworth Buchanan School. So if everybody will take what you've got, study it a little bit more. I know we just got these figures this evening, and anybody's got any questions, contact Mr. Morgan, and I'm sure he can answer anything you have. And I see Mr. Horn here and Miss Edwards, so if you have any questions for them, feel free to contact them, because they may have some ideas also.
With the table up there, it makes it relatively easy for you to look at. If I move this back to Oakland or that, what can I do to obtain what numbers you've got? So it kind of lets you look at that if you see a street or something we've overlooked or some other thing to do. We can make that change.
Anybody got anything they want Mr. Morgan to look at right now, or?
Just for my information, because I don't fully understand the bus end of this, but when you grandfather, are you talking about then having to transport from the same area?
We typically do not provide transportation. We provide it to your zoned school.
Okay.
And so if you choose to do the grandfather option, you would have to provide your own transportation. It's what we've done in the past. I'll put
Well,
it that way.
I can understand that there needs to be something that's firmed up in that manner so that, as you say, you were thinking about one bus anyway. Is that what I understood?
It
earlier?
almost makes us, because in that area that we're talking about up here, we're now going two directions instead of one
Yeah.
direction.
I got one question, Mr. Morgan. In this section F up here, the distance between Whitworth, Buchanan, and Christiana Middle, I know you mentioned a while ago, it's not very far. To me, it looks like a pretty good distance.
You want the exact distance between the center of that area to
Yeah.
each one of the schools? If you don't mind, I'll get it to you. Not right this minute.
Okay.
It would take a few minutes to calculate it, and I don't want to make a mistake by hurrying.
Okay. Anybody else? If everybody's good on, like I said, putting this off till tomorrow evening, and Ms. Michaels, if you'll add that
Okay.
at the end, hopefully we can have a recommendation tomorrow evening. All right?
And
Anything further?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
might remind everybody that their board schedule's in their folder.
Everybody take a look at it. I think Ms. Michael's been working on it pretty hard the last week or two, and I think she's made changes to try to accommodate everybody, so hopefully with this much notice, everybody will be able to work around it, so. If there's nothing further, we're adjourned.